Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's 10 ways you can be leveraging social media for your business. We hope you're all there and ready to roll. We've got a great morning ahead for you. We're delighted to see we have a virtually full house. Let's have a look, see who we have here. Oh, we have somebody from Austria. Welcome. Ooh, and Australia. Welcome to my fellow country people. And we have people from all over the UK. Chester, Plymouth, Portsmouth, and loads of you from London. So welcome to everybody. This is the first webinar in a series we're calling Free First Thursdays. So take a note for your calendars for the next ones, the 1st of November and 6th of December. Some introductions now. I'm your host today, Elizabeth Floyd, and I head up Business Training Made Simple. For those of you who don't know us, we're a London-based training business delivering social media, online and digital marketing know-how, as you can see here. We cover the full, sorry, one second, little technical hitch there. We cover the full range of social, digital and online know-how. Our remit really is to help organizations and people make their mark online and improve their return on investment on their social, digital and marketing activity. We run open courses here in London as well as in-house bespoke training courses all over the UK and into Europe. And we're looking for some involvement for you today. We're very accustomed to being face-to-face, so it's a bit funny for us to be staring at a screen and not seeing you there apart from a list of names. I placed you on mute, so you won't be able to speak, but we're keen to get your questions coming in. My glamorous assistant, Mark Thomas, is here today. Mark's our coordinator, marketing coordinator and events coordinator. He's going to be watching your questions as they come in. We're going to try and get to as many as we can for Michelle to answer, and those that we don't get to, we'll be posting up on a blog, and we'll let you have that after the event. We're also recording the session today, so you'll have access to the slides afterwards. So I think that brings me to our accomplished speaker, Michelle Carville. Michelle, it's great to have you here today. Michelle and I have known each other for around 10 years. We met through the parent company, Made Simple Group, and Michelle's been consulting for them for some 12 years. She's now one of our fabulous team of trainers, and she runs our social media and Twitter introductory and strategy courses. And later this month, she'll be launching our brand new How to Blog for Business course. A bit of background on Michelle. Michelle's been in the business, marketing and communications, for around 20 years. She started out in art school. She's in a very creative, colourful top today. Unfortunately, you can't see that. She moved on to Saatchi's and through to professional services. And 10 years ago, Michelle set up her own consultancy, Carville Creative, a digital web marketing strategy and social media consultancy. Michelle's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, voted top blogger on Business Zone 2 years running. She's 3 times been voted top 100 marketers on Twitter. And she's currently co-writing a book, The Business of Being Social, together with one of our other trainers, David Taylor, and this is due to be published in March, so watch this space. Over the past 18 months, Michelle's trained over 15,000 people in understanding social media. And now it's my pleasure to hand over to Michelle, who will be sharing her top 10 tips for leveraging social media for business. So without further ado, Michelle.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and good morning, everybody. So, as Elizabeth said, this is a bit unusual for me because I'm used to standing up and walking around and looking at everybody and getting some feedback. So, hopefully, it will all go to plan, and we'll have a great time going through this presentation. So, let's move on and get on with the show. So out there, many of you, there might be some of you that absolutely love social media. You're already very happy with Twitter, Facebook, and can see how this new means of communication is very positive for business. Some of you may be skeptical, and that's good too, because we like the skeptics, those that are a bit unsure. What does it all mean? I'm not sure. And of course, there might be a number of you that are curious cats. And for all of you curious cats and for you skeptics, hopefully by the end of today, this session, you'll have a good outline and at least some ideas about some of the ways that you can be leveraging social in your businesses too. The realities of social, social media, sometimes, I've been playing in this field for about 5 years now, and when we do talk social media, when we're consulting and indeed when we're training, sometimes you do see the eyes rolling a little bit, oh, social media. But really, let's think about it slightly differently. Let's think about a change in consumerism. That, the way we now consume has fundamentally shifted and continues to shift. We now are all publishers. We now are all editors, and we now are all producers. Once upon a time, the creation of content, the creation of publications, the creation of video, the creation of sharing information to a broad medium was only the domain of huge established brands and large businesses. Now anybody from their smartphone can take a photograph. Anybody can then post that up to Facebook and share it with thousands of people. Anybody can take video. Anybody can create blogs. We have now hit the age of the internet where, content is now democratized, and we are able to share and publish and edit, and the consumer is now a very powerful person. And the media, once upon a time, as I said, the media, whether it was a blog, a video, an image, an article, a white paper, some research findings, now we can actually, as individuals, create content that has the power to share, the power to compel others into doing something. And what's changed? And what's enabled all of that is, of course, this internet, this worldwide connection, and this growing technology. It's the technology that has enabled mass and reach. Mobile technology is seeing us shape the way we consume things very differently, and that's only going to continue as technology continues. And give people tools, give people technology, give people these resources. It's highly unlikely that we're going to start saying, oh, actually, I don't want to use this stuff anymore. It's only going to go one way, and that way is to progress even further. Research out of Forrester and Nielsen, and indeed Cisco Systems, 3 different pieces of research, all confirm that mobile technology and the way we consume will overtake desktop technology. And already I can say that my mobile lives by my side. We rarely turn our mobile devices off. We are in an always-on society, and that has huge implications for the way we now communicate with our audiences. So I suppose one little tip there is, how does your website look on mobile? Because that's one area that, we're not going to cover in today's webinar, but it's one of the things we cover in our training seminars about how the impact of mobile is having on your day-to-day businesses. So once upon a time, all we had to think about with businesses and being online was indeed our websites. We'd have our website, which was the heart and soul of our online visibility. And usually, once you've actually got your website created, unless you're using it as an e-commerce site and you're constantly updating it with different products and services, usually once you've got your content in there and your services and your products, there's not really much information to regularly keep updating. Hence why blogs became a really popular, and still are a really popular medium, because in a blog you can have that embedded within your website, and then you can share content. And so that enables a dynamic way of keeping your content refreshed and updated and interesting. So once upon a time it was our website, perhaps with a blog included, and those were our main medias for communicating who we are online to businesses, in the hope that those people who are out there searching products and services online would fall across our products and services and choose us to do business with. Well, of course, that was one platform. That was one invisibility platform. Now there are many others. And the question for you is asking yourselves, how visible are you and how integrated a presence do you have online? For example, now we have Twitter. You can have Twitter accounts, LinkedIn, not only your own personal profiles, but a company profile. And LinkedIn have been doing some work on these company profiles recently. And pretty much your LinkedIn company profile can be an exact, if not more powerful, replica of your website. So every product page, you can have video, advertisements, introductions about your product and services. Very, very powerful. Facebook, of course. Facebook is all about community. Growing a community, talking, having a two-way community, having a two-way conversation. Most websites, especially those without a blogging feature, aren't designed to be communicated, aren't designed to have conversations with others. And so therefore these presences enable you to have that two-way conversation. Google Plus are growing. I mean, there's 400 million people signed up to Google Plus, and Google Plus is another network very useful for search, because of course Google will feature Google Plus research results in their search engine feedback. So our advice is always, make sure at least you've got Google Plus covered, if only to be found in search engines. And YouTube. Do you have your own YouTube channel for your business? And if you have a highly visible business, or a business that has lots of products and services that are difficult to potentially communicate, then you could be creating a channel via YouTube to promote your business in a very different and creative way. And get it right, and those videos can really speed around the social channels and bring incredible visibility quite quickly. So the question, as I said there as we started, how visible are you? How integrated a presence do you have online? Why does it matter? Well, Google gets over 3 billion searches a day. People now naturally go online to find products and services. Think about your own behavior. When you're looking to seek out a new product or a new service, or you've been recommended, you still go online and do a quick search to find that product and service, see what's being said about it, etc. So it's a natural process. It's part of what we do now as consumers. 72% of consumers trust peer and online reviews. Only 14% trust advertisements. So this goes back to that statement that I made at the beginning, which is about the consumer is very powerful. The consumer, you as the consumer, now consume when you're good and ready. And we like to read reviews. I mean, I actually purchased a pair of shoes the other day, a whole size bigger, because when I got onto the website and I was looking at these shoes, 3 or 4 of the reviews were saying, oh, these shoes come up small. And, I'm a size 4. Why would I buy a size 5 shoe? But I did, because everybody was saying these shoes come up small. Actually, if you're a size 4, get the size 5. And so I did. And they fit perfectly. So we trust strangers, and we do that now inherently in our day-to-day lives, and it's a growing phenomena. We are in the recommendation generation, where what matters now is not necessarily what you say about your products and services, because we know from those stats that people don't trust what the advertisers are saying, the brands are saying. Of course they're going to say good things about their products and services, because they're the ones selling it. But what's important now is what other people are saying about your products and services. So you need to be thinking about where you can be creating positive sentiment and positive buzz online, and the social networks provide a great playing field for you to do that. So what we're going to do, after you've answered these questions to yourself, how visible are great reviews about you, Are you tracking your brand mentions? Are you tracking your company name or your own personal name if it's you, the consultant? Are you tracking what people are saying about you? Are you tracking what other people are saying? Are you listening? And we're going to go through 10 ways of using social. There are more ways that people can be leveraging social for business, but we're going to go through 10 ways, and hopefully at the end of those 10 ways you'll see that not only does social potentially help you with your visibility, but there are also cunning ways that we can be leveraging it to answer some of these critical questions. So let's get on to way number 1, customer support and service. There are a number of organizations using using social media channels for customer support and service. Twitter is often favored as a key resource here, because it's got a very fluid and fast approach. If you post something onto Twitter, you expect to get a response very quickly. So effectively, you can see here a little tweet that I've snipped saying, from a chap called Mike, mferris827 is his handle, his Twitter name. Symatec Norton Support is the worst support ever. This will be the last time I ever pay for any of their products. Now that's not great, isn't it? And if I was Symatec, I'd certainly want to know that people were saying that about my product or service. And I actually had a similar issue with Symatec, not in a negative way. I was looking for a product code, and it was to put a license or an antivirus license onto a new laptop for one of our team, and effectively I couldn't find that code. So I went to the Symatec website, and there were no signs of social, which is a big indicator. You know, if you are on social, make sure people know that you are. There were no signs of social, no little tweet buttons, or you can contact us here and do this and talk to us or join the conversation, nothing. So the only way I'm given the call to action to contact them is to call a support number. So I call that support number, and I'm on hold for about 40 minutes, and I'm being told how wonderful I am and how important my service is and how much Symatec value me, so much so that they've kept me on hold for 40 minutes. So of course I'm sat at my computer and I type into Twitter, Symatec, nightmare, been on hold for 40 minutes, not great, and within seconds I get a response from @Symatec, so they do have a Twitter handle, @Symatec, saying, "Hi Michelle, what's the problem?" So I tweeted back to them and said, "I just need a product code." They sent me a link and said, "Let's talk over here." So they sent me a link to a chat. I went over, they got me off the Twitter platform, we went onto a chat platform on their website. They asked me some details about the account. I gave it to them. It was all resolved within seconds, literally. A couple of minutes, done. What do I then do? I go back onto Twitter and I say, great use of customer support, Symatec, you know, using Twitter for customer support, 5 stars. So turning a relatively negative element into a positive element. And if you are listening, if you are tracking mentions of your brand, even on simple things like Google Alerts, you can see people talking about you. You can see what they're saying, and you then have that opportunity to go back and respond. The key thing, if you are going to use customer support and service, is there are lots of things you have to consider, but let's just consider a few key things. Speed to response. You know, you have to get there quickly. If Symatec had left me ranting and raving on Twitter, I could have done some digging around. I might have found other people like Mike, and pretty soon there could have been a whole bunch of us talking negatively about Symatec and causing quite a negative buzz. So speed to response is key. They came back to me with seconds. And if you think about customer service, speed to response is always key, but online it really is key. It needs therefore to be resourced effectively. So, you know, is somebody listening 24/7? Are they tracking keywords? If you are going to have customer support service and it's your customer support handle, then set some expectations. This channel is monitored between 8 and 8 every day. Otherwise, people will literally think they can just call you at 3 o'clock in the morning, tweet you at 3 o'clock in the morning, and somebody's going to respond. If you say it's 24/7, then it has to be 24/7. So make sure you're resourced effectively. And also from a process perspective, you know, Symatec had a process where they could get me off the channel. They had a process where they took people off to a chat line where they dealt with things off Twitter. So what's your process? Is it to get them to call you? Is it to get them to email somebody? What is that process? You need to have that thought about. And the other, of course, is what happens if? What happens if it all goes wrong? What are your escalation policies? What procedures do you have in place? My advice is always expect the best, but plan for the worst. Have those escalation policies in place so that if things do start getting out of hand, you aren't thinking, what do we do? And burying your heads in the sand. You've actually got a very measured and planned response ready. Okay, so that's number 1. Let's have a look now at number 2, brand reputation management. Well, this kind of ties in with the listening side of things. And listening in and monitoring noise and sentiment around your brand. Because if somebody's saying negative things about your brand, if somebody's talking about your products and services, you certainly want to be able to know about that and maybe converse and go back and talk about that. Armani Exchange is up here, and I'll tell you a little story about this, which absolutely, I think, personifies why brand management and listening is key. Armani Exchange, one of the girls that works with me, Vicky, for her Christmas present, last Christmas this was, wanted a coat from the Armani Exchange. Like many women, we tend to buy our own products, so any ladies out there, you will know what I'm talking about. Sometimes our partners don't always get it right, so we take control and we say, I'm going to buy this and then I'm going to give it to you and you can wrap it up and put it under the Christmas tree. So effectively that is what Vicky had done to her boyfriend, and she went off to buy the coat. He thought she wasn't buying the coat till the end of the month when she said she was going to buy it, so he thought, well, I know what I've got to buy her, the least I can do is surprise her and buy it sooner than she thought and give it to her sooner. The problem was that they then ended up with 2 coats. She said, that's very sweet of you, thank you very much, but now I need to take 1 coat back. Not a problem, I'll take the coat back. She went to take the coat back to the Armani Exchange in the Westfield Centre in London. And when she got there, she was met by a very nice customer service lady at the till who said, I'm sorry, but we have a no refunds policy. You can exchange it and you have 14 days to exchange it, but there's nothing we can do on your refund. And so of course she was like, but this coat was very expensive and we don't want to spend the money on anything else within the Armani Exchange, etc., etc. But said, sorry, it's policy, it's on the receipt, it's up there on the wall, nothing we can do about it. So the only thing you can do is get in touch with customer support, here's their email address, and off she went. So she came back to the office a bit tearful, sent some emails to the customer support team, and of course didn't get any response other than, thank you, we are dealing with your request and somebody will be back to you in due course. And of course the days are ticking down. She's only got 14 days to get this refund, and if she doesn't do that she's got to keep the coat. So I said, oh, go onto Twitter. You know, they must be on Twitter. Go onto Twitter, see if you can find Armani Exchange and just tell them what's going on. You know, we know that customer service on Twitter is often far more effective than offline, so why don't you go onto Twitter? So she went onto Twitter, and you know, she's a social media exec, so we're used to tracking and looking out for what we need to look out for clients. And she came back and said, well, they're not on Twitter, but look at what I have found. And what we'd found was a number of conversations that were going on around this no refund policy. Clearly, lots of people weren't happy with the no refund policy. And what they were actually doing was sharing tips and tactics about how you can get around the refunds policy. Because the policy is that if the product is damaged, then they have to give you your money back. So people were sharing tips on what they'd done to the garment. We put holes in the pockets. We ripped the fur off the collar. We ripped the belt off the back. We ripped the hem down the bottom, and they gave us our money back, and they gave us our money back. So there was this whole little community going on around tips and tactics to ways that you can get around this no refund policy. And the thing was that Armani Exchange didn't have a clue that this was going on. So we put a nice little email back together for them, we snipped all the conversations, and we went back to them and said, are you aware that this is happening? Now, to cut a long story short, they weren't. They said thank you. Vicky got her refund, no problem. But let's take that a step further. Let's say we hadn't notified Armani Exchange, okay? And let's say that somewhere, therefore, in Armani Exchange, they've got this growing room with damaged, or warehouse with damaged goods, and they've all got a similar problem. You know, they've all got the pockets are ripped or the collar's ripped off or the this, because people know that these tactics win. They could actually, somebody could be saying, well, hang on a minute, this factory over in Sri Lanka or wherever they get it sourced is sending us shoddy goods. The quality's really dipped. We potentially need to be looking at another provider. Now, for any of you out there that know how painful those kind of procurement partnerships are, switching suppliers is hugely onerous and extremely costly. So that wasn't actually the problem. And had Armani Exchange been listening, they would have seen that actually the problem was around the no refunds policy, which is a whole site easier to fix than actually switching suppliers. So, okay, it didn't get that far. Interestingly, now they are on Twitter, and they do track brand management closely, and so it just goes to show really what can happen if you're not listening. listening is absolutely key, and the beauty of social is it enables you to do that very quickly and in real time. So monitor your brand, your products, your company name. If it's you, monitor your own name. I have alerts set on my name, my company's name, our client's name, products and services. And even if you don't have a social media account, you know, you're not on Twitter, you're not measuring anything like that, then you can set simple Google alerts, which literally takes seconds. And every time somebody mentions your name online, you get notified via email. And you can set different levels as to how you want to be notified. If you are on the social networks, then you might be using a social media dashboard like Hootsuite or TweetDeck, and if you're not, I suggest that you are. But a great social listening kind of Google Alerts for social is a tool called Social Mention. So that's www.socialmention.com. Have a look at that, because that is effectively a place where you can be tracking all sorts, and again be alerted to the noise so that you don't fall into that trap of not understanding what the real issues are going on around your products and services. You can use software which helps you to get very sophisticated about positive and negative sentiment and specific keywords and geolocating, etc., but that's not for this session today. Another use for for social is polling and product feedback mechanism. You can see here a tweet that a professor has actually put out. You have until noon on Monday to vote for the topic to discuss at Ed Shatey Irish Time Twit poll. Okay, please retweet. Now this is obviously, he's a professor as it turns out, and he is sending this out to his audience who are largely his students, asking them, sending them a twit poll, and that is the right, it's not a typo there, it is twtpoll.com. This is a great little tool that you can use to actually do online surveys and online polls via Twitter directly into your audience. And of course that's one via Twitter, and we'll have a look at the outcomes in a minute, but Facebook have a polling option, LinkedIn has a polling app. If wherever your audience is, you can ask questions. Asking questions and getting people's feedback and engagement is powerful on social. So polling and product feedback mechanism, really useful. You can see here how TwitPoll translates. You can actually set different times. You can see people that have voted, how many people did it, when the poll ends, who set the poll up. People can retweet it and share it directly from the application. Here, this is showing a poll on Facebook. So you can see here, what's your favorite breed of dog, and people can vote, 90 or more people voting as to what's gone on. So again, this there. And as I said, LinkedIn has an app that also has a polling option in it as well. And tip number 4, ways of using social: lead generation. Now, one of the things I always say is that social is very different from our traditional marketing activity, because you don't go into a social conversational channel and just start trying to sell your wares using traditional marketing messages. You know, 10% off this if you apply by 10 o'clock today. Doesn't really cut it on social. You will start to tune people out. Social is far more about getting people to know you, like you, trust you, earning their attention, earning their trust, earning their attention, so that they ultimately do business with you. So you're growing share of mind. It's not about push, 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 push marketing tactics. Imagine yourself in a networking situation, a physical networking situation, and you walk into a room, and before you've even said hello, before you've even understood who that audience is, you just start trying to sell your services. You wouldn't go down very well, and these are social networks, so you have to think about that. However, people are asking others online for referral. We saw 72% of people trust online peers and trust online recommendations and referrals. So you will see, these are some snips that I've taken from Twitter just very quickly, and you will see the types of things that people are looking for, and if you're tracking the things that matter to your business, you can be finding direct leads. So here we have, I need a carpet cleaner, can anyone recommend one please? I'm looking for someone to maintain a marine aquarium in Bristol, can anyone help? Can anyone recommend a lawyer in Florida who can advise a Brit on establishing a business there? I am looking for a yoga instructor in SW18, can anyone recommend one please? I am looking for a blog designer who is an illustrator, graphic designer to help with a little creative project. I am looking for someone who makes leather A1 size art portfolios. Can anyone suggest someone? Now, the reason I've snipped those and put them up there, and I could have gone on and on and on and on and on, because there are 400 million tweets a day, and a high number of them, there will be a high number of leads in there. Your job is to cut through that noise and track the things that are important to you. The thing I'm demonstrating here is the rich, broad mix of requests that are actually out there. So if you're tracking the right keywords, you can certainly be picking up the right. If I am that yoga instructor in SW18 or in London, then I want to know when people are asking for a yoga teacher in that area, so I can go back, and I maybe wouldn't push at the time and say, oh, come and join us because we're great. I might send them, hey, well, you might want to come out, check out our class. Here's a video so you can see how it is. Here's some testimonials that you can see from the things. Here's a blog post about everything we do at our yoga center, so you can come and have a see. Here, you know, you can come and have the first lesson free. You might get into that conversation, but it shouldn't just be about pushing a direct sales message. It's about getting them to know you, like you, trust you, ultimately do business with you. Far more of a consultative sell than a direct sell on social. Another way to use social, and this is highlighted by charities. Charities are using social very effectively, a number of them, to garner support and grow awareness in a relatively cost-effective way. This is a great example of gathering support for a cause. Hugh's Fish Fight, Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall of River Cottage fame. And of course this was driven by a television program on Channel 4 which focused on the overfishing problem that we have. And throughout that television program, interestingly, a hashtag, which is a way of harnessing conversation in Twitter, was promoted, which was #FishFight. And people were encouraged to join Hugh's Fish Fight, to share their view, to share their support, to garner support so that to help him change legislation. And he is changing legislation. And the interesting thing is that to do this offline, I mean, there are now nearly 1 million people signed up to this campaign through his Facebook activity, through sharing on Twitter, through leveraging friend activity on Facebook. He has grown and grown and grown and grown, a very powerful resource. And what he does now is that periodically, when he needs to make another stand, because obviously these things, any shift in legislation is going to take forever to achieve, it's not going to be a one-hit wonder, he has now got a base that he can keep going back to. So when something needs to be changed, or a politician is going to be making a stand on something, he sends a tweet out to his, you know, thousands and thousands of people on Twitter to say, can you all please tweet at councillor such and such and say, we're watching you at 4 p.m. today. And how easy is it for people to do that? How easy is it for it to engage? He's not saying, can you please make a billboard and go and stand outside the Houses of Parliament? He's saying, can you just quickly hit a button on your phone and get this message across that you support and we are watching? So gathering support for a cause, you couldn't garner that amount of support that quickly offline anyhow. So thinking about how you can use it smartly can be very useful. Look at UK Cuts, you know, if they need to mobilize a group very quickly, they could. And it's being used for good, and of course some people, you know, if we think about the London riots, it was used for good and bad there. So there are ways, but it just shows the power of collaboration. Recently with the awful, you know, the little girl going missing in Wales, April, well, very quickly, because of the use of social, they got 20,000 people out within the hour, you know, searching and looking for her through social campaigns, through Twitter, through Facebook. So gathering that support for a cause, getting people on board, very, very powerful. And there are heaps in the press and heaps online that you can find more about how to do that. Product promotion and launch. Well, this is probably one of my favorite videos, the Dollar Shave Club, not only because it's humorous, but because it is a clever way of promoting. The YouTube videos are now up to about 7 million, and this is a perfect example of using social to promote. You know, he created a video which wasn't perfectly shot. It was shot by a friend of his using a Canon, E500 camera on the video and Steadicam, and he pretty much put it out there using great, if you haven't seen the video, you do have a look, because it really ticks all the boxes. He doesn't focus on the product itself. He focuses on the benefits, and he gets the proposition across very, very quickly. Key thing about product promotion and launch is it can be done on Twitter, it can be done on Facebook, it can be done on YouTube, it can be pushed out onto LinkedIn. You know, you can be leveraging your professional services, your professional contacts that way too. But the key thing is, usually with product promotion, it's a tie-in with your traditional. What we're saying here is, you know, social isn't the be-all and end-all of life, but if you are creating a campaign, then think about how you can plug social in. So he already had a campaign for Dollar Shave that was running offline. He already had a website set up. He already had some materials and things that he was doing. He then created a video to particularly and specifically push across out into Twitter and Facebook in the hope that people would like it and share it. And boy, did he receive it. So much so that, you know, they had 12,000 orders for the product subscriptions within the hour of this video going live, to the extent that it blew their website and they couldn't take the traffic, and that now he got, you know, it got the ears and eyes of some very important VC investors out in the States, and he's now doesn't really need to worry about how to make his next video, because he's got some significant support. So do think about product promotion and launch, but again, remember that message. It's not just about push, push, push. It's about, if we've got a product promotion and launch message in the traditional world and the message looks like this, how do we translate that message cleverly so it works on social? How do we make that more conversational? How do we make it compelling enough so that others will share it and become our advocates and marketeers for us? Because that's where social can really come into its own. The other thing, of course, is humanizing your brand. How many of you, if you go and search for a product and service online and you come across a website, and let's say it's got a blog on there, but the blog was November 2009, how trusting are you then of that product or service? Do you go to their website and think, yeah, these guys look fly, they're really all over this? Or do you think, my goodness, you know, this is looking a bit dodgy? Whereas if you hit a website and on the home page you see a blog that is right up to date, you see a Twitter feed and the tweet was the last couple of minutes ago, then you can see that they are alive, they're doing stuff. You can read their timeline, you can get to understand what they're up to, and see the human side of the business. It might even be that on the About Us page, rather than just having a big tome of text, you actually have a video and say, this is us, this is us, this is about us, this is us, this is our offices, these are our clients, these are the things we do. Think about how you can humanize your brand online, leveraging social, using your Twitter, sending people across to come and join the conversation on Facebook, and having some Facebook snippets on your homepage. Just really thinking about how you can humanize that brand so that people know you're alive, you're on it, you're up to date, and that you're building that trust and likability factor. PR, thought leadership. Well, PR, I mean, some people refer to social media as social PR because these are the new channels of PR. Most journalists are on every journalist I know has a Twitter account and actively uses it to both tweet and share, but also to actually garner news. They are out there looking actively for news, and you can see here on the slide that, you know, looking for a doctor, podiatrist to comment on ankle injuries caused by high heels, please, hashtag journo request, hashtag PR request. Those are hashtags on Twitter that journalists and other media use to get people talking and asking questions and answering questions. So if you might want to have a look at some of the things that are going on around there, because you might have a news story that features, you know, blogging now goes way beyond a press release. If you send a press release out, you kind of sending it out to one portal, whereas now you have this opportunity to keep that communication alive, sharing that news on Twitter, sharing that news on Facebook, sharing that news into your LinkedIn company page or with various relevant employees that can help amplify your message for you. So do have a look. There are sites out there like Journalist Tweets where it actually aggregates journalists together so you can see what the journalist is saying and sharing. So if the trade press are an important factor for you, then really have a look at these things and have a look at the news and the requests that are being made. And if you are putting out PR, then think about how you can be leveraging your social channels to be doing that as well. And if you want to become the go-to person about a specific object or a specific subject, then you can blog about that, you can share that news, you can listen out for people talking about that and go back and answer those questions either in LinkedIn Answers or on Twitter or via Facebook community talk or community chat. You can be sharing your expertise and showcasing that so that you actually grow that authority as, aha, who's that? I know that. That's Michelle. She's the go-to person about XYZ. Let's contact her. So the more you push out there consistently, the more you're growing that thought leadership opportunity. I won't labour this point because, you know, research, listening in, we looked at that both in brand management and we looked at that right at the beginning when we talked about customer services. Twitter lists and hashtags are two of Twitter's most powerful resources, and I highly recommend, if you don't know much about Twitter lists or hashtags, you get all over them because they really turn Twitter into a very targeted and useful resource. Have a look at lists because you can actually be creating your own list on Twitter, and it could be your competitors, and rather than following your competitors, you could actually just be tracking everything all your competitors are saying in one view. So you may not want to follow them because you don't want them to know that you're watching them, but you can still do that by creating a locked-down private list that nobody else knows exists other than you. So it's great for kind of keeping an eye on that competitors. Again, Google Alerts, social mention, tracking keywords and relevant conversations, setting up streams in your social dashboards. Listening is hugely powerful. When you've listened, then you know what's going on. It helps you create ideas for content. It helps you create ideas for solutions. Listening is definitely a big part of the conversation. You should be doing far more listening than you are talking. If we think about it, you know, we've got 2 eyes, 2 ears, just the 1 mouth. And on social, use it in that use it like that accordingly, because listening is hugely powerful. So do listen in. Big lesson for today. Promotional, you know, campaigns, keeping things moving. If I do this, you might be able to see my mouse moving, because most promotional campaigns, marketing and promotional communication campaigns, tend to kind of be time sensitive. So for example, we'll start the campaign and we'll push out that press release or we'll push out that direct mail, and it will go in March, and then we'll do and then once that campaign is finished, it'll kind of drop off, won't it? You'll get some exposure, you'll get some attention, the phones might start ringing, you might get traffic to your site, and then it will start to dip off. And then you might think, okay, well the next follow-up is actually in April, so then you start again, and you've got to push that communication up the hill, get a bit of peaking of activity and call to action going here, but then the minute that promotion stops, so does your activity and awareness. And so it's very peaky. You know, you're up there and then it tails off. You're pushing up that communication, then it tails off. You're pushing up a communication and then awareness tails off. Where social is really good is using social as a complementary resource to any other activity you're doing to keep the conversation going. So instead of all that awareness that you grew here falling right back down to here, you get them engaged on your Facebook page, you get talking to them on Twitter, you keep the conversation alive so that the next time you do something, it's a flatter structure than having to start down at the bottom. So social is great for filling these gaps and keeping the conversation far more continuous then this up, down, up, down, up, down. We peak, we trough, we peak, we trough, we peak, we trough. So think about how you can be filling the gaps in a complementary way with your social media activity. Big word for the day is continuous. Social is continuous. We talked at the beginning about being in an always-on society, and effectively social is that. You know, people are conversing 24/7. How do you keep those continuous conversations? Well, that takes a lot of content, that takes a lot of planning, that takes a lot of thinking. How do you then plug those gaps? Again, that is continuous conversation. And continuous conversation is huge. You know, you've got to think about, well, how do we resource continuous conversation? How do we, from both a people perspective, are we awake 24/7? Do we outsource this? Do we bring somebody in full time to do this? What is it that we do? How do we do it? Because continuous conversations are, you know, in marketing, in traditional marketing, we're quite used to doing campaign-driven things, whereas continuous conversation is about how do we keep talking and having a conversation. If you are opening the doors, you've got to be able to converse all the time, and that is resource intensive. So you need to be thinking about that. So before you dive into social, do not dive in, do not pass go until you have done your planning, your listening, and your analysis, okay? Social media isn't about doing social media just because everybody's doing social media. You know, social media is about doing this wisely so it delivers on your business objectives. So many times I see Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest and Google Plus and LinkedIn things on people's websites, and I say to them, that's fantastic. So I went there and there's nobody's tweeting on it. There's nothing happening on your Facebook page. Why have you even got them there if you're not going to do anything with them? Well, because it looks good and because our competitors are doing that. But actually, it just, if you're opening yourself up for a conversation, people will think they can have a conversation with you. And effectively, if you're not listening, if you're not responding, you're ignoring them, which is far worse than if they didn't think you had a presence in the first place. And of course, you know, we've hit a billion people on Facebook. So, you know, ignore Facebook at your peril. Business objectives. It's all about your business objectives. Think objectively about why you're doing social. If you were doing any other form of planning or activity or communication or marketing activity, you would not just dive in. You would do some planning. You would do the thinking. You would do some research, which is now the listening. And then you would analyze that and you would say, okay, now I get it. Now I know what I need to do. That makes sense. I know exactly what Twitter's all about. I know exactly what our Twitter, the types of people we need to follow on Twitter. I know exactly who the influencers are out there. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to network with them and I'm going to get them to know us, like us, and trust us, so that they become a great marketeer for our business. You do all of that before you engage. Most businesses dive in here and then think, I don't know what to say, I'm not sure, what should we be talking about? Well, you know what, if you've done this bit, which is the tough bit, but it's a critical bit, then you know exactly how you should be engaging here. Okay? So very critical. It's about objectives, it's about having real clarity. I love the saying, you know, those that aim for nothing hit it with remarkable accuracy. And think about that. If you don't know where you're going, how the hell do you know what you're going to do to get there? So have a very clear path. And that's it from me. So I hope this has been enjoyable. I've enjoyed it. It's been a bit strange talking to a screen, but hey-ho. Hopefully I'll get to talk to some of you face-to-face, because many of you now will be thinking, you know what, maybe we need to do a bit of training. And if you do, then Business Training Made Simple is a great place to learn. So I'll hand you back over to Elizabeth. And I think there might be some questions, and I'm very happy to take a few and answer a few. And as we said, if we can't get through all of them, we'll create a blog and answer as many as we can via that. Thank you.
Well, that was fantastic, Michelle. Thanks so much. I'm sure everybody got a great deal out of it. Just quickly before we go to some questions, just summarizing, I think, really all that was said there. You know, the way in which we consume has shifted. The growth in technology isn't stopping, it's going to continue. We're living in a recommendation generation. People are talking about us. We need to use our ears, both of them, and our mouth once. And I think that was a key message that came across from Michelle, that the listening in, there's so much opportunity out there. We all think about social media. We have to go out there and talk, talk, talk. Actually, the key thing is listening. There are opportunities for business. There are chances to ensure your brand is not being spoken about in a way in which you don't want, and if there is, a way to recover. So just quickly touching on a few of the questions. Firstly to Jenny Stabler. Jenny, thanks for your great compliments about Michelle's presentation, and yes, we will be recording it, and yes, it will be available. We'll communicate with you after the event for that. Now Helen Williams. Helen asks Michelle, if you could only choose one social media for your new business, which one do you think it would be?
It's tricky, but, you know, I do think, you know, how to eat an elephant one step at a time, and social media is a bit of an elephant. So I would probably say start with Facebook. It does depend on what your business is, but start with Facebook for engagement, because you can showcase who you are with Facebook. You can have your home timeline there, so it can be a whole heritage of when the business was founded, why it was founded, who's part of that business, as well as then showcasing, you know, everything you do in that business, and the personality behind that business, and grow a community. There are some great Facebook pages to have a look at where they've done that so well, where rather than just focusing on, oh, we sell this, we sell that, they've turned and thought about, you know, well, what's important to our target audience? What should we be talking about that would really compel and engage them? Because it's not always all about the product. You know, you can ask them questions about your product, you can get them engaged about various things like that, but think about your audience. And I think Facebook enables you to do that really well and communicate who you are. And with 1 billion people on Facebook, then, you know, there's a big mass to play with and think about. Facebook also offers some great targeted ad facilities whereby you can grow awareness into demographics and various people that are interested in things. So I think I would start with Facebook, but Facebook isn't that great for listening. So even if I didn't have a Twitter account, I would be using Twitter for listening in and tracking my brand and Google alerts and social mention and being all over the listening, and maybe just engaging and showcasing things on Facebook first.
That's great, Michelle. And of course, we have a slide coming up in a little while. You'll see we have a lot of courses, including the Facebook course. Many people think that, you know, they know Facebook, they're using it personally, but actually for a business, it's a very different story, and we have some great education around that. The next question we have is from actually just around the corner from us in Clerkenwell. It's Martin. Martin asks, what about time? The biggest dilemma for us is, he says, is how we find the time to do it all.
It's a great question, Martin, and it's a big challenge for businesses, and this goes back to the point I was making about resources. Very often, I think, you know, a number of organisations I've worked with have said, oh yeah, well, we're going to bring an intern in, and I say, really? You know, this is your brand, this is your business, this is your personality going out there, and you're putting this in the hands of somebody who doesn't really know anything about media relations, anything he knows about effective communications and safeguarding brand reputation management, etc. So I think the resource thing is, you know, it has got many facets to it. Who does it is a big thing. Do they know what they're doing? Are they trained? So training is a big part of it, or using experts, maybe outsourcing it. But there are tools that you can use to help it. For example, social media dashboards like Hootsuite or TweetDeck. I mean, I prefer Hootsuite personally. It is a great resource whereby if you've got 3 Twitter accounts and a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page and maybe another Facebook page, you can bring all the different accounts, and a Google Plus page, now it includes that. You can bring all those different accounts into one place, so that when you are thinking about setting up your activity, you can actually decide which platform you want to post it to. So you can do one thing once and think, okay, well, I'm going to post that to LinkedIn, and I'm going to also post that to that Twitter account and that Twitter account, not that Twitter account because it's not relevant for there. So it helps you to kind of be more efficient that way. The other thing about Hootsuite and the other dashboards is that they allow you to schedule activity. So you can actually set things up and plan things out and schedule things. You know, we're going to send these 5 things on Monday, these 5 things on Tuesday, these 5 things on Wednesday. Now that doesn't mean mean that your engagement, you can take your eye off your ball, because of course if people are talking to you and asking a question, there's still a community that needs managing, so somebody still needs to be able to go back and talk to that person. But it does mean that you've broken the back of the content, and you've got your content out there, and you've got your theme out there that gives you some presence out there that you're talking about. Very good scheduling if you've got a campaign running, and you know, it helps you to leverage all of that. The one thing I would say is horses for courses. You know, Facebook is Facebook, Twitter is Twitter, LinkedIn is LinkedIn, and your professional services contacts, you know, your professional contacts over on LinkedIn are very different potentially to your audience on Facebook. And again, Twitter is a very fast and fluid platform, whereas on Facebook and LinkedIn, things hang around a lot more. So you certainly wouldn't just want to be auto-posting. I'm a big no-no with auto-posting. You know, you see these, post your tweets to Facebook. Why would anybody do that? Because that's just wasting, you know, equity on Facebook and talking Twitter talk on Facebook. So you know, resourcing it, yes, there are some tools. There are services out there that help you. You know, you can outsource it to agencies, or indeed train up your team so they know what they're doing and they can do that the most effectively that they can. But the reality is it's resource intensive. There is no quick way. You can have all the apps on your phone, all the apps on your iPhones, but somebody still needs to be watching that closely.
Great, thanks Michelle. Now Mark has been sitting here typing away, answering all your questions as they've been coming in. He's doing a fantastic job, so thanks to Mark today. If we can just, we've got a couple more questions we'll try and get in a moment. If not, as I say, we'll post them on our next blog. Now you can keep in contact with Michelle. You can see her Twitter handle there, and our own SME_training. There's a hashtag where we're continually posting up interesting information. Michelle blogs on there quite a lot. SME Training 2012. Just keep looking out for that on Twitter, and you'll gather lots and lots of hints and tips, and that's continuous. On the right there you can see some of the courses coming up, but one of the things I really wanted to get in today was, as a thank you for being on our first ever webinar, which we are very excited about, we wanted to say thank you by giving you a £20 off any future course. And in the post follow-up email, we're going to give you a special code which is just available to you, and that will enable you to take £20 off any future course. We'll also give you a link to our courses pages. I think probably, oops, yes, we just do have one more quick question coming in here, and that is, it's the noise. There's so much noise out there with, you know, Twitter and blogging and Facebook and all those things we're going to be listening into, says Annette. How do we sort of cut down the noise and get to what we want?
Yep, it is. It's a noisy, noisy space out there, and it is about cutting through and tracking. And there are tools. There are keyword tracking tools that you can just track, so you only listen to what you want to be listening to. There's ways of putting things into lists, so you can just see the lists about people are talking about. So if you've figured out, I only want to listen to what that audience is saying, you can do things that way as well. So there, if you have a look at Twitter, for example, and go into advanced Twitter search, there's some really clever ways that you can be segmenting the data. If you think about Twitter, if you think about Facebook, if you think about LinkedIn, all they are really is huge databases that everybody can talk into all the time. And there's lots of ways that you can use the operators to kind of get in and cut out the noise that you want to hear. So you are always in control. You can just listen to what you want to listen to. You can do that by unfollowing people that are too noisy, or just by being highly targeted in who you follow, and the lists that you create, etc., and only listening into those. And of course, smart use of dashboards and the tools like Hootsuite, Sprout Social. There are some very high-end, sophisticated ones like Meltwater and Samosas and Radian6, etc., and a whole load of, you know, there's a whole industry that's been created around social listening. So do have a look out at some of the tools, but some of the free tools are really useful. You know, even just tracking things in Google Alerts or Social Mention and in Hootsuite, tracking keywords that matter to you will really help to cut through the noise.
Well, I think that just about we've got 1 minute to go before we're taken off the air. So we'd just like to thank you again, Michelle, today. That was absolutely fantastic, and for you, Mark, as well. And to remind you of Michelle's last slide, which was the 4 steps: plan, listen, analyze, engage. Thanks very much, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar, which will be on the 1st of December. We're going to poll you after this in the traditional sense, find out which of our bag of hot topics you'd be most interested in hearing next. So put it in your diary, 1st of December. We look forward to seeing you back here then. Thanks very much.